At Mitchell Reports, and Garrett Hake is in for Chuck Todd with MTV Daily right now.
If it's Monday, President Biden returns from Europe to face the lowest approval numbers of his presidency at home, in a nation that has little confidence he can deal with the war abroad. Plus, as the White House continues to clean up the president's comments about regime change in Russia, new comments from both sides suggest a potential roadmap for de-escalation. And the latest signs that the political environment is getting even worse for Democrats, as the White House unveils a budget blueprint to potentially refocus the party's midterm messaging. Welcome to Meet the Press Daily. I'm Garrett Hake, in for Chuck Todd. President Biden is back from Europe, but as he tries to steer the U.S. and its allies away from an escalating conflict on the continent,
If it's Tuesday, Russia begins pulling back some troops around Kyiv. What it means for the future of this war as Russian and Ukrainian officials meet face-to-face for peace talks in Istanbul. Plus, President Biden is expected to deliver remarks alongside the Prime Minister of Singapore this hour, a day after the president refused to back down on his comment that Putin cannot remain in power. And later, January 6 committee members pressure Attorney General Merrick Garland to take action as it refers two more former Trump allies to the Justice Department for criminal contempt of Congress. Top member of that committee, Congressman Jamie Raskin, joins me ahead. Welcome to Meet the Press Daily. I'm Chuck Todd. After more than a month of war in Ukraine, today there are very small signs of possible progress towards some form of a peace. If it's Wednesday, new attacks hit Kyiv and northern Ukraine. In the exact same areas Russia claimed it was easing its assault. As new U.S. intelligence warns, Putin might be losing his grasp on the reality of this conflict. Plus, President Biden speaks with President Zelensky as talks between Russia and Ukraine continue. We'll speak with the former president of Ukraine about the future of this conflict as he navigates this crisis from the middle of a war zone. And later, what the current political environment means for the president and his party heading into November. We're going to head to the board for a brand new edition of the Meet the Press Midterm Meter, along with new numbers from our NBC News poll. Welcome to Meet the Press Daily. I am Chuck Todd. We just received a readout from the White House about President Biden's call this morning with President Zelensky. According to the White House, the two leaders spoke for just under an hour. They discussed specific defensive support, financial and humanitarian aid. If it's Thursday, President Biden prepares to deliver remarks this hour on the administration's new wartime plan to tame soaring gas prices and rising inflation, including a record-setting release of oil from the country's emergency supply. All of this as the White House and members of Ukraine's parliament brief senators on Capitol Hill about the situation on the ground in Ukraine. I'll speak with a couple of top senators from both sides of the aisle about what they're learning and what it means for the U.S. response. And even more evidence that Vladimir Putin is in the dark, as British intelligence says Putin massively misjudged Ukraine. It's the day after U.S. officials said U.S. intelligence indicated Putin was being misled by his own advisors. Welcome to Meet the Press Daily. I'm Chuck Todd. President Biden is scheduled to speak sometime this hour on some new efforts to combat soaring energy prices here at home as Americans continue to feel the pinch of inflation. If it's Friday, another U.S. intelligence assessment points to growing dismay over the war from the highest levels of the Kremlin. What it means for the response in Washington, State Department spokesperson Ned Price joins us ahead. Plus, the day after President Biden announces his wartime plan to combat higher gas prices, Democrats face another brewing political challenge, a potential surge of migrants and asylum seekers at the border. And the president delivers remarks on the state of the economy as the U.S. employers add more than 400,000 jobs for the 11th straight month, a record that goes back to the 1930s. Welcome to Meet the Press Daily. I'm Chuck Todd. The U.S. and our NATO allies now say Russia appears to be redeploying its forces, continuing this brutal assault on Ukraine. No pulling back.